Dr. Craig and Chris, thank you for being here. We are taking these interviews as part of APA 2019 in Chennai. So through these interviews, we would like to know more about your products for the hatchery segment and how they'll improve aquaculture. So to start off with, before we go into the details, Chris, can you please explain about what Zeigler does?
Sure. So first, let me introduce myself. My name is Chris Stock, and I manage Zeigler's business development in Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. I've been doing that for a better part of 10 years. And a little bit about Zeigler. We've been making feeds since 1935, so that's 84 years of manufacturing feeds. And we've been making aquaculture feeds since the 1950s. And we began making shrimp feeds in the early 1980s. So we've been part of the shrimp feed industry from the very beginning and pioneered a lot of diets and nutritional requirements and continue to press forward in helping evolve the industry. We're based in the United States in Pennsylvania and export our finished products throughout the world. We're found throughout Central and South America and now all throughout Asia as well.
Now, since we're talking about hatcheries, we understand that live feeds are an integral part of any hatchery operation today. So can they be replaced completely?
My name is Craig Browdy, and I'm the Director of Research and Development for Zeigler Brothers. And I've been working with Zeigler for the last 5 years. And working with shrimp and shrimp hatcheries, I'm almost embarrassed to say how many years it is, but let's say I did my first eye stalk ablation in 1982. Live feeds is certainly one of the most important parts of hatchery production. Hatcheries spend a lot of money in setting up algae systems and algae culture, and then going on to harvest artemia cysts, which can go up and down in price. Live feeds are great for shrimp larvae. It's an integral part of the production system. But live feeds can bring a lot of problems. It can be a problem with productivity of the algae system. It could be problems with contamination. There can be problems with availability of artemia cysts, and problems with the price of artemia cysts, as we all know, can go up and down. So live feed replacement has been an objective for a long time. I'd like to divide the question into two and start with algae and then talk about artemia. Maybe Chris can tell you about the artemia side. The algae labs in most hatcheries are really the most clean place in the whole hatchery, as we know. You know, you start with the very clean algae and you come out of the cold room and then go into these big mass production tanks. Algae production, they spend a lot of time and effort in putting that together for shrimp larvae. And algae does a lot of good things, including nutrition, but also affecting the water quality in the larvae tank. However, algae can become really problematic, and sometimes when it's problematic, it just doesn't seem to go away. Either you can't produce enough algae, or the quality of the algae isn't there, and what you see is problems in the early larval stages. Problems, for example, in Zoea 2 is very, very commonly tracked back to the algae lab. Zoea 2 syndrome is a huge problem. When a hatchery has it, the only way to overcome it is to completely dry out the algae lab and bring brand new stocks. So what does a hatchery do when they're having issues with algae? It's been a problem for a long time. We've developed feeds that we use during the early life stages of the shrimp, really small, down less than 50 microns in size. So start with the dry feeds. We have a product called Z+, which is one of the most powerful and nutritionally potent dry feeds in the market. We're using that feed together with our Easy Larva, which is a different technology. It's a liquid feed that's also microencapsulated into very small sizes. We work very hard on the size distribution of the microcapsules within the product. And the product was formulated to mimic the kind of things that you get with algae. And when you put these two nutritional combinations together, the powerful small dry feeds in the small particle size together with the liquid Easy Larva, we are able to bring shrimp through the mysis stages into PL with no algae whatsoever. Is this a preferred solution? I'd say probably not at this stage. The algae brings something very important to the larval system. But when a hatchery must produce and they're having issues with algae, we have protocols that we provide that allow people to at least see whether the algae is the problem and temporarily overcome the problems that they're having with the algae. One of the most exciting areas that we're working on right now in terms of research and development is algae replacement. So we continue to hope that in the future we will get to the point where we can replace 100% of the algae. Artemia, though, is another story.
It is. So I'll speak a little bit about artemia replacement, and I'd like to begin by reminding everyone that artemia has never encountered a shrimp in its native environment. So I think that's an important starting point when we think about this question. Shrimp are from the ocean, artemia from inland salt lakes. So they've evolved without one another. There's no codependency on them in nature. That said, artemia played a critical role in this industry and continue to this day. As Craig indicated earlier, there's a range of issues with artemia involving supply, price, variation in quality, depending on the source, the season, hatch rates. So it's not a perfect feed, and there's a lot of limitations. And one of the big issues we see today is dealing with Vibrio loading in the systems. And when we're culturing artemia, it's a nutrient soup, basically. We're culturing bacteria, we're releasing the artemia and the Vibrio into the system. And that's becoming more of an issue in this day and age as diseases are pressuring hatcheries more and more. So we have to look at all these weaknesses in our hatchery protocols and practices. And I think the spotlight on these live feeds is getting brighter. So the question, can we replace artemia? The answer is yes. And Craig referenced our liquid larval product that's focused on replacing or reducing dependency on algae. We have an equivalent product called Easy Artemia. This product is manufactured with a similar process but completely different formulation. This formulation was designed to mimic the nutritional profile of highly enriched artemia. So it's got an excellent nutritional profile. We've been making this product for practically 2 decades at this point. So we've been going through a process of continuous improvement. We were not able to say full replacement was possible for quite some time. It took a lot of time and effort and continuous improvement. And we continue to work on it to this day. But there are commercial facilities in various parts of the world that have completely eliminated artemia. This is a very difficult task. It requires good skill, good supporting diets, good management practices and facilities. So it's not something that can be done easily. And the attachment that the industry has and many technicians have to artemia is understandable. It provides a stability in their minds. So we're working and have been working and continue to work on reducing the dependency, replacing the amount used. We have a lot of advantages when we can bring a replacement to the protocol. We get stable nutrition, we get stable supply, we're reducing the Vibrio loading in the system. So the answer is yes, it can happen and it can be done today. But in terms of transforming the industry and replacing artemia, this is going to remain a process, and we're pushing forward every day to move the industry in the right direction.
Now let's talk about one of your products, REDI-MATE. Can you explain what the product is about?
REDI-MATE is one of the newer products that we've released into the market. For many years, Zeigler produced a product called EZ-MATE, which is a really nice powder that goes into the maturation preparation kitchen, and then you can do whatever you want with it. You can take your secret ingredients and your secret sauce and mix it in and create your own worms that go into the maturation tank. Very successful product, but people wanted a product that was completely ready to go. And we wanted a product that could replace the live feeds that are used in the maturation unit, not just supplement the live feeds. Why replace live feeds in maturation besides cost? Main reason is biosecurity. I mean, it's absolutely clear for a number of years from the testing that's been done that diseases like aphids and diseases like EHP can be carried in fresh and frozen and live products that are going into the maturation. I mean, we in India here, a lot of effort is spent quarantining every animal that comes into the country. A lot of money is spent on SPF broodstock that go into a maturation system. And then the next day, people are putting polychaetes into those tanks, carrying EHP, and contaminating the entire system. So that the post larvae that come out, surprise, surprise, have the diseases. So what we really need is some very biosecure feeds that you can use in maturation. Now you can import cultured worms from certain places in Europe, very expensive, that you can use in the maturation system, and they work well. But we wanted to come up with an artificial feed. Eventually we need to have a feed that we can get away from using live, fresh, and frozen feeds. In REDI-MATE, I think we've made strides in that direction. We focused on one thing. If the shrimp don't eat the feed, it's not going to be able to provide the nutrients that are necessary for the females to produce 12% of their body weight in eggs every 5 days. Eggs that are full of lipoproteins and other factors like that. So how do we do it? We increase the attractants in the feed. We worked very hard on the attractability of the feed, so that the shrimp actually will go in there and eat up the artificial feed that you're giving them as easily and as well as they will eat squid or other frozen foods. We don't at this point recommend 100% replacement. It can be done, but typically you can find biosecure sources of squid, and we recommend using a combination of squid and REDI-MATE. But you can completely replace use of artemia biomass, the use of mussels and other bivalves, the use of polychaetes, and we've shown that in several hatcheries commercially in Latin America that have been able to completely get away from that and even reduce the amount of squid that they're using with beautiful results. In Asia, it gets a little more complicated because in countries like Vietnam and Indonesia, typically in China, they feed a lot of live polychaetes. They're spending, again, a lot of money on these broodstock, and they want to maximize the productivity of eggs that are coming out of them. And there's some sort of secret ingredient in a live polychaete that goes away once it's frozen that allows you to increase your egg production by 30 to 40%. So people are hooked on them, and they don't want to get away from them. But you can produce plenty of eggs with a little bit smaller spawn size using frozen polychaetes, which is more biosecure, by the way. And to get to a much better biosecurity, you can use some of these replacement diets. REDI-MATE is a semi-moist feed that the shrimp love. Put it into a tank with a bunch of shrimp who are lying quiescent, and all of a sudden they get up and start looking around for the feed. So it's a great new alternative that's out there. Even at small percentages in the diet, it can provide really nice nutritional package to the animals.
So about studies regarding REDI-MATE in India or in any other place, have you made any comparative studies with REDI-MATE?
Yes, absolutely. I think the simplest kind of studies that we've done are simply to replace whatever current dry diet is being used in the maturation system at a small, relatively low rate of inclusion, which is typically around 2% in most systems. And when people start using REDI-MATE just in place of what they're using now, they immediately recognize the difference in attractability, the difference in the animals eating it. Once you start getting up to higher replacement levels and higher use levels, which I think is really above 3.5% of dry weight of feed that's going into the maturation tank, then you start to see something very interesting happening in the nauplii. You start to see the increased yolk in the nauplii and the increased color. In fact, when you have hundreds of thousands of nauplii in a bucket swirling around, you can actually see the red tint in the nauplii in the bucket. Very kind of interesting side effect of the use of some of this REDI-MATE at higher inclusion levels. We also, when we're doing our studies, have done different rates of replacement of fresh feed. And so we've gotten up to, 70% replacement and so forth, with very nice results in terms of the frozen polychaetes. The tricky part is going in and replacing the live polychaetes, and that's a harder thing to get the technicians to accept, because the good thing is that the broodstock lasts longer. I mean, they're not picking up these diseases from the contaminated worms that they're eating, so that they can continue to produce in the maturation system for a longer period of time, which makes up a little bit for the smaller spawn sizes. But in general, that's where it becomes more and more challenging, in replacing the live polychaetes. So once again, job security. As the head of R&D, I have plenty of work to do for a long time to continue to improve these products and technologies.
We're talking about easy artemia, easy larvae, REDI-MATE. So what other products and solutions?
We have a complete line of feeds. We're fortunate to be able to offer a solution for any need in the shrimp farming industry. We have a complete line of dry diets. We have the liquid feeds. We have a nursery feed program that has a wonderful history to it. We've been involved with nursery production from the beginning of that concept in Latin America, and so we've been able to continuously improve our nursery diets for decades now. As that sector comes to Asia, we're able to come with products that have a lot of history and have been proven. So the nursery segment is an important one that has potential here. We also have diversified into probiotics. We've been working with them for a number of years, but are continuing to increase our focus in that area. We see the importance and potential of them. So we have 2 different hatchery probiotics available in the market. One is called Rescue, which is meant to manage Vibrio in the system. And we created a second probiotic called Remediate. Remediate is a more traditional style probiotic that is meant to manage organics. The idea here was to give us 2 products that allowed the manager, the person operating the hatchery, to adjust the protocol and the dosing of each product based on their current situation, as opposed to a general probiotic. So that's one of our other new areas. And I guess if you're looking also for news from Zeigler and what's coming along in India.
Oh, yes. Special.
Oh, am I getting ahead of you?
Please go on.
Sure. So I guess where we're going, let's say where we've been, first of all. The last 5-10 years in India have been very important for Zeigler. We've been fortunate to grow our business significantly here. The presence of our brand and our products has gone up considerably. And now we're bringing these new products and solutions. Craig has a lot of things he's working on, not everything you can talk on video about, but we're continuing to focus on biosecurity, improving our existing products and coming out with new ones. And then I'd say the most exciting thing happening today is Zeigler's licensing program, where we transfer technology to local companies, has brought on board our first partner mill in India. Ishi Marine, based in Gujarat, has become Zeigler's first licensee partner in India, and they have officially begun manufacturing feeds for the pond production stage. So we're very excited to have our partners here in India producing pond stage feeds. So the complete package of Zeigler products is now available in India. So any need a farmer or hatchery has, we can provide here to India.
And I guess you have these licensing partners all across the globe.
2 in Mexico, one that does shrimp feed production. We have one that does fish feed production. It's Mexico. We have one in Ecuador, shrimp feed. Our second newest is in Egypt. And again, our most recent now is the addition of Ishi Marine in India.